Welcome, Blazor fans. We're going to talk about Blazor Templates in .NET 9 today. So we talked about the .NET 8 templates last week and that I found some issues with them. I started working on some fixes for those and put in a pull request to the .NET team. They have things locked in for .NET 8 already. So it looks like the changes that I made are possibly going to be part of .NET 9. So good news, we're going to get improvements in .NET 9. Bad news, I made the improvements a little too late. They didn't get into the .NET 8 release candidates. So we'll take a look and see what the changes are and how they're going to benefit people that are starting to learn about .NET or in Blazor. So let me get a screen share up. I was and wasn't basing my changes on the RC2 bits. I was a little bit behind. But hey, Eagle's here. Have I figured out how to create a new Blazor server-side project that has individual auth enabled? Yes. You have to get the latest bits from the .NET repo and compile them. So yeah, there's some small changes between the different parts. Bald Bearded Builder is here. All right. Sweet tea, why is it the only tea? There's no such thing. Oh, what? No, there's sweet tea. There's no such thing as on sweet tea. We could get into that. Yeah, so RC2 is coming, and Eagle, you'll have the individual auth pages in RC2 because they're in the build that I'm working with, and I'll try to pull that up and show. It's not 100% working in my build, but that's probably something that I've got compiled wrong, maybe. Thindle is here. Welcome back. So I'm sharing a pull request that I pushed to the official .NET ASP.NET repo. And these are fixes for things that I found with the current Blazor templates that I thought would be an improvement. There was some accessibility stuff. The way the project was originally created was a little odd with the markup for me, and it made the semantic meanings of the HTML elements a little odd as well. So hopefully this fine-tunes those and makes it easier on screen readers. The collapsible navigation parts. Let me get the template up and running here, and maybe we can get a little visual going with it so we can see what this looks like as well. There's no Thindle, there is no foreseeable future without a Bootstrap implementation. I think there needs to be something there, and the .NET team agrees that there should be at least some base like UI layout library, and they didn't want to go all in on something like Tailwind, even though it's super popular, because Tailwind has a lot of baggage to carry with it. Bootstrap's still fairly easy to just inline a CSS file and just make it work. There's really nothing that bad about Bootstrap. It's easy to remove if you don't want it there. And there is the blank template as well. Yeah, I agree with Smab there. You can just do the empty template option if you don't want the Bootstrap stuff. So let's take a look in Solution Explorer as well as pull up the pull request that I issued. See if we can get these side by side with enough screen space here that we can review things. So before we had these individual blocks like this. And in the new version, the way they're divided up is header, sidebar, main content, like that. And we can see that in the markup. So if we go to the main layout, this is what we have. So on main layout.razor, now we've got the header, goes across the entire page. Then we have the app container that has the navbar in it and the main body. Yeah, so when a screen reader would hit that old version of it, the header content was inside of the main section here. So this is where the old header was. And if you look at the specs for main in HTML, they are not supposed to have navigation elements that are constant through page refreshes. So having the header down here inside the main was semantically incorrect as far as the way I interpret the specs. What do we share in Eagle? Let me get the right screen up for being able to take links out of comments here. Give me 1 sec. I always use the comment manager from the StreamYard, and it doesn't let me click on links. That's the only bad thing about StreamYard. So what are we looking at, Eagle? Oh, you have a link directly to the PR. Thank you. Appreciate that. So let's see. Another one of the probably worst thing that was in there for accessibility is the focus overrides in HTML. We shouldn't do that ever. And what the focus would do is when we got focus on the main window, I'm just not even seeing it here, we would get a focus on this hello world header here, and there should be an outline on it if it's focused on. Let's see if we can even get it to force focus to it. That style is gone, but I'm not getting focused on it. There is a focus element, or focus kind of circle that goes around the H1 tag that was being removed by the .NET template. Shouldn't do that. So I've removed that line of code. And then I refactored a lot of the CSS. So check this out. This is a new feature. So if all things go right in .NET 9, you'll be able to do this. Do you like that? Stealing, what are you stealing in particular, Eagle? Just the branch? Yeah, there's some kind of test failing, and there's no docs really. There's no docs on how to fix it. And when I run them locally, they pass. So it's a weird thing. If anybody knows anything about it, let me know. Oh, the template used to focus on H1 when loading the page. I don't know why it's not doing that anymore. I didn't change anything in regards to that. But Yeah, so new version, automatic dark and light theme detection based on your system settings. So if I swap to a dark theme, notice the template changes with it. And that is part of Bootstrap, by the way, for the Bootstrap haters in the crowd. Bootstrap has this capability in 5.1, I think they added it, and they keep fine-tuning it. And there's a couple different ways to implement that. The way I chose is to put it in the header file. So if we go into the, or not the header file, the app.razor file, you'll notice a new line of code here. So it says Bootstrap Dark CSS. If you remove this line, it will remove the automatic. Oh, they changed the way the page loads. Oh, thanks, ma'am. If you remove this line of code, it will remove the automatic theme detection. That theme detection is happening right here with this media prefers color scheme dark attribute. So what this does is if the browser detects this is a dark theme, so if this is true, then this link gets loaded in. It will always download the CSS over the network, but it won't actually apply it until this media prefers dark is tested. If it's true, it adds that CSS code. And when it does, it overrides the theme colors. So what that means is we have CSS variables in this version. So if I go into www.root, pull up the Bootstrap folder and look under the Bootstrap dark CSS file, you'll see that there's about 50 lines of code that are all just theme colors. In the main layout, you comment out all the content. Main layout? When did I comment out all the content? The code outline. Not sure what the PR shows. This is the code from the pull request generated out of the template. Let's see, where are you looking? .NET main template. You're looking at the 5 commits. Wondering what you're seeing is commented out. I mean, there were things that were deleted and then replaced. So you get like this. There's no more like div page. That's gone. Page didn't do anything constructive. Let's see. What are you looking at? It's probably the template. If you're looking at there's an if sample content in here, and it's not commenting out this. It's a flag. There's a couple different templates in one. So if there's sample content enabled, then it renders this. If it's just the blank template, you're only going to get body. And then if you click the use server or WebAssembly buttons, it adds in the Blazor error UI. So it's all of those checkboxes that you see in the File New Project dialog. That's what you're looking at. That makes sense now. I was trying to figure out why it looked commented out to you. This is what I'm looking at is the compiled version of the template that's been run through the File New Project dialog in output already. So if you check all the boxes, I think this is the one that it outputs. This one also has the authentication bits in it, which is why it has rendered out the auth required, register, and login. I guess they added an auth required example, and then they've got the register and login buttons on the side now. So these used to be up here. So I don't know if they're going to want to make changes to it or not. I'm going to leave it up to the .NET folks. But this bar used to have the navigation elements to log in and log out, and now they're in the sidebar. But another thing with this sidebar, let's see if I can trigger it. There we go. So if I am using keyboard navigation and I am on the menu button and I hit enter to open the menu, notice my focus is now on the menu. So I don't know if you caught that. It kind of happens quick, but if I tab here with my keyboard and then I hit enter, my focus gets sent here to the first item in the menu. It's very important for accessibility and keyboard enabled users. Before, this was being done with a toggle checkbox. So literally input checkbox was being used to kind of make the menu appear and disappear. It was a nice hack. It made a menu that you could toggle without JavaScript. The problem with that is it circumvented some of the accessibility needs like keyboard navigation. Can I share the results of a file new project template with the changes you have? Yeah, I can, Eagle. I can. I've found this very difficult to run and produce. So I will do it because you asked. We'll try to do it live here so I can show you some of the headaches I have. Maybe we can figure out why it's not working the way I want it to. Working with the full like ASP.NET repo is kind of a pain. It's not terrible. It just requires some command line things. It's somewhat well documented, but not perfect. So we'll try it. All right. So we have the header. We have a accessible sidebar now. We've got the counter weather. Here's one of the things also, Eagle, is the current branch I'm on. I don't think the auth stuff is 100% implemented yet, because watch this. Kaboom! It's broken. I'm getting null reference exception on this, and this is not part of my template. I did not add this, so I don't know why it's broken and not working. I don't know if it was finished. I'm kind of issuing pull requests and trying to keep them up to date with what they have in the main repo. So some stuff doesn't work. My template works. Some of the code from what they're working on, I believe, is incomplete. The HTML, the CSS, all that stuff is fine. Let's see here. So I added the header, and if we look, the header is really simple here. Oh, shoot. I don't know if that's still... This one, I think I changed to section because it doesn't have an actual H1 tag in it. I have to check on that one. This one may be section in the finished version. Like that. But this has been greatly simplified over the previous version. From .NET 8's template as it currently stands to the one that's in the PR, I deleted over 100 lines of CSS code, removed a ton of unused HTML and HTML attributes, and now we have a main layout that has only the Blazor UI CSS in it. So this had over 150 lines of CSS code in it before. Some of that CSS moved to header.razor, which is only 18 lines of code. This is just the little navbar across the top. If we jump back over, so that's header. Nav menu has the rest of the CSS code. And this is for the sidebar, the toggle button, and the nav links on the side. You can see this is much more slim than the current version. And even AppCSS got a lot of code removed. So I did a lot of deleting. So you just want me to share this one, Eagle? A lot of the CSS code now isn't even so much CSS code, it's just a lot of variables. So you'll see there is a root section here that has a lot of variables. These are labeled BL for Blazor. Oh, you need a proof of concept. I gotcha. Yeah, I can share this one up. I'll push this up to source control. Blazor net 9 alpha. And I will make that public. Yes, this works in .NET 8. It does work in .NET 8. For all intents and purposes, it's HTML, CSS. Yeah, I'm calling it .NET 9 because from what I understand, all of the changes, they're in a code freeze, kind of, or a feature freeze, maybe you want to call it that. They've made decisions on what's going to ship in .NET 8, and this was not in their plan. I highly respect what they're doing there. You know, you got to have goals and not let feature creep come in, and I'm feature creeping basically. So they said .NET 9 or possibly in January if there is a like service pack or something that comes out. So there may be an SDK update, and it could hit earlier in the year as an SDK update. So fingers crossed for that one. It may actually come in like .NET 8 SDK like 8.01 or whatever it is. So so there are these CSS variables everywhere. And actually, let's do this. Let's do a, all right, let's right click here. We're going to do run in terminal. I cannot get hot reload working anymore in Visual Studio. That's just me. Doesn't do what it's supposed to do. So I'm going to do .NET Watch so we can play around with some of the CSS bars in here. So we can see what they do. So this is up and running. There we go. We've got a live version on the left or the right. And I am back over in app.css. Again, very slim app.css. There's nothing in here but error boundary, validation colors, and the CSS variables. You will notice too, like there are some things that you might off the top of your head go, oh, why aren't those CSS variables? There are some snippets of CSS that are used in the blank template, which does not include the bootstrap bits. So like these parts right here, the validator colors and the error boundary are there even if you don't have bootstrap. So I left the CSS vars out of a couple spots there because they didn't make sense. All right, Eagle, take care. I pushed that up to my GitHub. So it should just be like the latest repo that I pushed to GitHub if you go to my GitHub. Thanks for joining, by the way. So we have CSS variables, and what we can do with the CSS variables is, for example, let's say we're not a fan of the gradient on the sidebar. So I could come into this Blazor linear gradient option here and say none, hit save, and notice we went to that neutral gray color. So no more gradient. We could also come in here and there is a Blazor brand color. We can change these. I'm trying to remember which one. Okay, that's the top section there. And those are also used in the gradient. So if I did have the gradient, let's put the gradient back. If I kept the gradient, you can see they're incorporated in there. So if I were to do a red here, notice it's incorporated in the gradient. It does make sense to use the variables even if it's not a Bootstrap feature, but they would need to be defined in this root section. It was just a lot of upkeep for 3 lines of code, basically. So it would require a variable to be defined for where that variable is only being used once. And if it's only being used once, you don't really need a variable. So it's kind of kind of a design decision there, I guess. So we could change those gradient colors directly as well. So we could do that, or you could just eliminate the gradient altogether. So there's options in there to theme this now. So that's how those basic variables work. So we've got theming. We've got a little bit of a new layout. What else did we have in that pull request? I still have it on my screen. Let's see, where did it go? We'll pull it back up here. Oh, I've got it right. I've got it twice now. So hopefully they take that pull request. We've got theming. We've got automatic dark mode. I think that's about it. Just overall, just got rid of a lot of code. Yeah, a lot of CSS is gone. It's made it a lot more simple to kind of reason about. There's a recommendation about reading not to mix named and color values. Okie dokie. It seemed to work okay, but yeah. So let's see, we've got the variables set there. These, again, are the sidebar. I have Blazor UI error background. I gotta check that one. That might actually have gotten taken out. Gradients, the navigation pill items, the link colors, and the hover colors. So all the buttons that are in the sidebar. The sidebar is probably the most custom thing in the Blazor template. For some reason, that was the original direction there, so I just stuck with it. There's also the CSS nesting capability has been used with this as well. So you'll see these ampersands inside of the CSS code. This is actually using the new nesting feature that is in the browser. This is something that was recommended by the .NET folks, by the way. I didn't realize it was part of the CSS or the browser feature set. I knew it was being spec'd out. I didn't realize everybody adopted it already. So we can use the Sass-like nesting capabilities of CSS now. So this is very modernized code. One more little thing that's worth pointing out. When you use icons, I know there's been some changes with the icons in the latest version, and that will make its way into .NET 9 as well. When you use those icons, I could not get the styling to work. CSS was not behaving with the way the icons were being implemented. So I went ahead and used the SVGs directly. If you use them as a background URL, you cannot set the color of them, and that interfered with the automatic dark and light mode. So you will see inside of the nav link the individual SVGs being used. They are a little verbose, but again, they add a major feature, which is the ability to customize the color. So we have that. And I think that's the pull request. So hopefully this gets pulled in. Better accessibility, better theming, and a lot of refactored code should make things easier for folks that are onboarding to .NET. This is the first thing they see. And there was a lot of there were a lot of foot guns in there, right? A lot of accessibility issues that were pretty easy to fix. One of the biggest ones being the Navbar. The Navbar, from the research that I did, showed that it was completely inaccessible. You'll notice there is a button here now inside of the navigation component, and that button has some inline JavaScript on it. The reason it has this inline JavaScript is because, unfortunately, that's the way that we can implement, that we need to implement the accessibility features. So when you have a sidebar like this, the button click event is necessary. What we had before was a CSS hack, and it was a input element that was styled to look like a button. When you style things with CSS and make them look like other UI components, they don't inherit the cues that screen readers need to tell users what is on the screen. So instead of a button, you have this input checkbox that has been styled to look like a button, and somebody with a screen reader just knows there's a checkbox there. When you click that checkbox, it would display the navigation element. So if we do that, we kind of think about what's happening here. I still have this up and running. There we go. Okay. Make sure this is going to run. I got to close this window. I still have it. There we go. No. What am I erring on? Let's try this again. I forgot I had .NET Watch running and I hit build, which confuses it. So if I am visiting this page as a non-visual user and I'm navigating to this element here and it's a checkbox, I'm going to get different audio cues than I would if it's a button. when I open this with a button, there's some JavaScript that runs that does a couple things. If this is a checkbox I toggle, there's some CSS that makes this panel visible, but the screen reader doesn't know that that happened and doesn't call out the new menu that was shown on the screen. With the JavaScript code, what happens is when I hit enter here, there not only is this shown, but there are ARIA attributes that are flipped, alerting the screen reader that this is being shown. It also sets focus to the first element so I can navigate the new menu. So there's a couple things that have to happen that we can't perform with just a toggle checkbox. It has to be a button to get the right cues. It has to have the ARIA controls attribute on it. And what ARIA controls does, it tells the screen reader that this button element that has the ARIA controls on it points to the Navbar element here. Although I'm seeing an error right now, which I need to double check on my pull request. It should have the ID here in that box. The ID should match. I don't know where this Navbar supported content came from. I need to check my source code and make sure that I've got that correct. This should say Sidebar nav right there. I believe this is corrected in my source code because I took this out as well. That doesn't belong there. It actually is on this element. So this gets toggled as well. ARIA expanded is false. Clicking this will actually turn this to true. So it's a really simple bit of JavaScript here. What we do is we go out with document query selector, find the sidebar menu element, set that up as a variable named menu. Then we can get the classes on that element and toggle the hidden element. We also get the ARIA expanded attribute and check it. If it's false, we turn it true. If it's true, we turn it false. Then we finally take the menu and inside of it do another query selector, finding the first nav link and setting focus to it. There's a couple things that take place in that one click. And they were small enough they could go in line in JavaScript inline right there. Anything bigger than that probably would have required a script tag or a JavaScript file. But this was just short enough that it could be written out there. And that will toggle this, this panel here. So that was part of the work that was done there. I'm going to save that as well for Eagle in case he takes a look at it. All right. So that's that. Let's take a look. I want to double check that with the source code and make sure that it got updated. And this is where you're going to see some of the problems that you have to deal with trying to open these source code for the .NET, for ASP.NET. When you work on the templates, it's part of the entire mono repo of ASP.NET Core. In Visual Studio, you're supposed to launch it from the script commands inside of the repo. Those don't seem to work for me either. I'm just opening it straight here. I've been running everything else from the command line, but I just want to take a quick look at my files. The easiest way to do that is just to open it up and let it error out. But I wanted to look at that nav menu and make sure. Ooh, it does say Navbar supported content. That is incorrect. So I do need to update that here and push that change up. And that ARIA expanded false is there too. That should not be there. So let me note this really fast. Want to get that up there. They're probably going to be reviewing that soon. So I want to make sure that that got fixed. Just visually kind of checking here, scanning, make sure there's nothing else. Okay, I think we're good. So this is what it looks like when you're inside of the ASP.NET Core source code. You have all of these if-def pieces. This is all the template generation tooling. So there's going to be toggle boxes inside of the file new project experience that control these sections that are being commented out. And this is something that Eagle was looking at in the pull request and didn't have a context for, so he wasn't sure what was happening there. So caught a bug doing the show. That's good. When you work with the official repo, I haven't quite got this to work seamlessly for me. You have to clone the entire .NET repo, and I keep that under source, contrib. These are GitHub projects that I contribute to, and it is under ASP here. So if you want to build out .NET 9 when it starts to go into full production, you can clone it, and you could try to build this out. There are script commands that are well documented in here. If we do code here, should get the VS Code tooling. And inside of here, there are, I'm trying to remember where this is at, docs. There are readmes for building this all out. And I'm trying to remember where, is it under repo? No, it is under build from source. There we go. So you have instructions on how to build this from source. And it's trying to get me to install some tooling to help make this look a little bit better. Okay, I get it. There's things you want me to put in here. So if you want to run everything, like here's everything for prerequisites. And there's also, if you're on Windows, so everything, I have everything built. This is the part that never works for me. And if anybody out there has been using the like nightly builds, building things themselves out of the repo, let me know, because this doesn't seem to work for me. But if you want to run Visual Studio, you have to run the restore command. I've already done that. And then you should be able to run start VS. And when I do start VS, I still end up, let's see, it needs a solution file too. That's the other thing. It wants a solution file. So we can do the full ASP.NET Core solution file here. Let's see if this actually works today on stream. I could never get this to work right. I would always get errors when this loads up. Let's see. This is okay. It's a little warning dialog that we're building beta bits, I think. We're going to load the full ASP.NET source code right into Visual Studio on a live stream. How bad could it get? What's the worst that could happen? And I don't know why you get this migration report, but it is not very favorable. There's all these errors. in these projects. Looks like it's a lot of solutions that got loaded in. It's very much a mono repo, like it's got all of ASP.NET in it. That includes SignalR and all sorts of other stuff. So the part that I'm working is in the project templates here. And there is the web project templates where the Blazor stuff lives. And there should actually be, clicked on it, it's taken a while to load. You can load those individually as well. I decided to just load the whole repo and take a look. It's taken a hot minute to load that up. And it just opened the SDK or the CS proj file directly. It didn't load anything. Let's try Solution Explorer. And the solution file should be... Yes, I don't see one for the project. Oh, there it is. Project templates. And there's also project templates, no dependencies. Don't remember which one is which. I think the Blazor one is in the no dependencies version. And I should also be able to file new project and see the templates that I built. And this is one of the things that didn't work out well. So we've got Blazor. I should have Blazor WebAssembly standalone app, Blazor server empty app. I don't have the new Blazor template in here, and that I had to run everything from the command line to get it to work. There should just be a Blazor web project in here, and it doesn't seem to be there. Now it's also running a different .NET SDK. To get that running, you have to do a /activate. And you'll notice that we are now activating .NET, the .NET 9 SDK. Do a version here. You'll see we are on .NET 9.01 Alpha. And don't know if that is what I need to be doing before I run this. Like I said, the instructions are a little vague. They get you there, but not all the way there. Where are those project templates at again? I was looking for that solution file. All right, let's see. It could be... Actually, it shouldn't matter. Let's just go back to... Just showing you stuff that didn't work, basically, now. If you ever want to do this, this is the hard part, is getting everything to run. So what I really want to do is take those templates I built and see them in Visual Studio, which you're supposed to be able to do. You're supposed to be able to do it. I still can't get it to recognize the templates, and they've been installed with, there we go, operation could not be completed. This is what I was getting before. So it doesn't want to load in the context of .NET 9. So even if I could get the new project templates up, they target .NET 9, so I get errors that .NET 9 is not installed. So it's been a little hit and miss. I've had to kind of manually tinker with things to get it to run. Convert them back over to .NET 8 and just run them in .NET 8 to test them manually. But at least the PR got created and the bits are up there and the team can see them. And hopefully it is enough to get that pull request merged in. And we'll have some new templates in either the .NET 8 SDK update in January, February, or in .NET 9 next November. Hopefully we don't have to wait that long. Hopefully it comes in one of the updates. It could always be like released as a NuGet package or something too. But hopefully it doesn't come to that. I think they'll get it merged in and we'll get it sooner rather than later. So that's all I've got for this week. We'll take a look at some other things next week. I know we had some requests out there for finding a way to do a commenting system like Discuss inside of a Blazor app. So I need to do a little research and see what libraries are out there. Maybe we'll roll our own, who knows. That's something that was requested I think would be interesting for a future Blazor Power Hour episode. Take care, everybody.